All right, wrestling fans, welcome back to the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Nate, Aaron, and Archie here with you, and we are proceeding to the main event, the meat of the matter, our show review. This week, we selected Smoky Mountain Wrestling Volunteer Slam 1992. I have a couple of things to say before we review the show. The first thing is, and Aaron can attest to this, those that listen to the show, Archie, you all know we've brought it up a million times. Aaron and I are Ohio boys, all right? We grew up in Ohio, Northwest Ohio, close to, not close, probably 2 hours from Detroit. We grew up in Toledo. And so here's what wrestling we got growing up in our local market. We got WWF, obviously. We got NWA/WCW. And then sometimes when Fox 55 in Detroit decided to air it, we would get some of the remnants of the Chic promotion in Detroit at that time run by the great Wojo. And we would get some of that stuff locally, which actually that's where Aaron and I actually got to see Scott Steiner before he went national because he was in that promotion before he went national. But anyway,
we also got GWF.
We did get GWF on ESPN. But the point I was getting to was our grandmother lived in Knoxville, okay? And every summer for 2 weeks, we got to go stay with her in Knoxville. And obviously, staying with grandma was the highlight. But one of the cool things for a little dude wrestling fan like me and Aaron was, for a couple of weeks every year, we got to watch Smoky Mountain Wrestling. It was this weird promotion that we didn't get to see back home, so every year it's like catch up with what's going on in the Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
What are these hillbillies up to?
Yeah. Then you read about it in the magazines and you're like, man, I wish I could watch it, but I got to wait till I go to grandma's in the summer. But yeah, Smoky Mountain holds a special place in my heart for a few reasons. First of all, great promotion. Second of all, those childhood memories of getting to watch it when we went to stay in Knoxville.
I found out about Smoky Mountain, like Aaron said, through magazines. Because when in the back of PWI, they would tell you who the world champion was of different companies, and then who the tag champions were, who the number one contender was. And I kept seeing Smoky Mountain Wrestling. I'm like, what is this? And then through tape trading and, friends of mine having it, and whatever, I would watch it here and there. And I liked it, but it wasn't what I was used to. Obviously, WWF and NWA. As I got older, I got into it and began watching it because of the hearing that the Gangsters were there and, the Eliminators and other big names. The Undertaker used to do a pop-in every now and then. But I stopped watching it. And now because of you guys, when you tell me to watch something and I rewatch it, I forget certain things. And I get I didn't know that was Brian Lee, as in Brian Lee from ECW and the fake Undertaker. I just thought it was coincidence they shared the same name until watching this show. And I saw the face, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's Brian Lee.
And I have a lot to say about him as we review this show, too.
I do, too.
May 5th, 1992. Smoky Mountain has just started up. I think they started in February of 92, I believe.
Yeah, this is the build-up for their title they're going to crown. They did their tag team title first, obviously, because Jim Cornette's a tag team guy and wanted and traditionally that area of the country was based around tag team wrestling. So, I mean, I don't want to say it was like an afterthought, but in that area of the country, like the world title was almost secondary.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's also because of that mindset of the way territory wrestling was set up. It was for a touring NWA champion to come in and be, you know what I mean, and defend the world title once or twice a year. So you would build around tag teams and then maybe a secondary champion, but that's the philosophy. That was, Jim Cornette's philosophy was that NWA philosophy.
And for the most part, it was working. It did get by for him and did what it had to.
So this event is the tournament for the first ever, as Aaron kind of alluded to, the first ever Smoky Mountain Championship. We have Les Thatcher and Phil Rainey on commentary. I was actually disappointed.
The Dutch wasn't in there?
No, everybody knows how much I love Bob Caudle. And I wanted Bob Caudle, but that's all right. Les and Phil.
Bob comes later, and Bob was doing the TV show.
Yeah,
but they went with Lance, or not Lance. Sorry, Les. I was upset that, and I had watched this a long time ago and just rewatched it yesterday. But I'm not. I don't like Phil Ramey. He does some different things on Smoky Mountain leading up to this. Like he's doing all the vignettes with Jim Cornette trying to present his heavenly bodies, and different things happen to where he doesn't get to show him. I'm not a fan of Phil on commentary.
No
show. I would have rather it be Les Thatcher and Dutch Mantel.
Yeah, have Phil do the interviews.
I agree with you because I felt that Dutch, because of obviously Dutch Mantel was a heel, he played more to the heels when doing the interviews. So it would have been better to have somebody that was even heel doing the interviews, because it just seemed like Dutch was like almost helping some of the heels through their promos. You know what I mean? He was adding a word.
And I get what Jim was going for. And I think Jim was going for the because Les Thatcher's a great commentator. Don't get me wrong. But I think he was going for the Lance Russell, Dave Brown type feel, and it just didn't work.
I agree. And it was not in any way that their commentary sucked.
Oh, no.
I just want to get that out there. It was just like Aaron kind of said, it would have been better had it been with a heel color commentator.
Like let's say this, like let's put it in the equivalent of like a mainstream thing. It was like when face Lord Alfred Hayes, Sean Mooney would commentate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like there's no arguments, or there's no, this guy saying, oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And the interviewers in the back for the show are Dutch Mantel and this Mark Aston guy.
Who looks like an idiot.
Yeah, he does.
He really did. He didn't look like he belonged in wrestling.
It's funny. It's so funny because on my notes I have Mark Aston looks like he would be dumb. Sorry, Mark, if you happen to be listening. We're sure you're quite the intelligent gentleman. So
what you want me to do again, Jim? I want you to hold the microphone in front of his mouth.
Okay.
Okay. No, that's his chin.
That's his nipple.
It's his chin. Hold it in his mouth.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, we got Dirty Dutch Mantel and Dummy Mark Aston doing our interviews here.
Look like Butthead.
Hey, Dixie Dynamite, how's that match going to be? This is Nate Does Impressions night. I'll be here all week. All right. Dixie Dynamite, who is Scott Armstrong.
Scott Armstrong, yes, I was just about to say that.
And he is facing a guy that probably
awesome.
Yeah, I was about to say probably because I don't know why Tony Anthony never got a fairer shake on a bigger stage, because he is a great heel wrestler.
I agree with you. I love Dirty White Boy Tony Anthony. Followed his career through Smoky Mountain and other independent wrestlers. But at the time he finally got signed to WWF, it was when Vince wanted to give people real occupations. You know what I mean? Yeah. TL Hopper, really?
You know? He fell into that jobbers with gimmicks thing that Jim Cornette says he told D'Lo Brown, don't do it. Don't. Because they called D'Lo Brown and he told D'Lo, don't do it. Because they're just going to strap you with a shitty gimmick and make you a jobber. And Dirty White Boy, of course, is adorned with the magnificence of Ron Wright, which if you just watch this show, you don't get to see the true magnificence of fucking Ron Wright, man.
I'm down here. My legs don't work. I've been trying to do this. He's like, I got bills, man. My medical bills are piling up. I'm just trying to live my life, and these people just don't understand, man. I just need help. I'm in this chair because of you people, because I've been trying to entertain you. and I'm just trying to live my life, and none of y'all help. And
God damn it, he's so good.
The best part is the fucking blanket.
Yep.
Like, he sold that shit to a kill. Like, I don't understand why people in wheelchairs always have to have a blanket, but they do. Like,
And
your
Ron
shit
Wright
don't,
knew it.
yeah, it's like your shit don't work, so how do you know it's cold? You know?
Right.
But Ron Wright was like, gotta have a blanket, buddy. You gotta have a blanket on them legs. Everybody got a blanket when they're in a wheelchair.
Have either of you ever gone back and watched, like, seeked out any of his stuff from when he was actually a wrestler back in Knoxville and stuff?
Yeah.
No,
There's stuff on
have.
that guy, Archie, like, and I didn't even, to be perfectly honest with you, I didn't even seek any of it out till probably about 2-3 years ago. Okay.
Right.
I always watched the Smoky Mountain stuff and thought he was great as and at one time, I don't know what inspired me to do it, but I went down a YouTube wormhole one night and just spent an entire night watching everything I could consume on YouTube of Ron Wright and his career. That guy is a national fucking treasure. All right. He is one of the great, like, especially for a territory wrestling.
You don't stump Gordon Sully. Okay, like, you can't stump Gordon Sully, but when he flips out that Nazi flag and puts it on the desk, and Gordon Sully's like, nope. Nope. We ain't doing that. Like, no way. Yeah, Ron Wright is fucking fantastic. And him just being like, I'm just trying to pay my medical bills and make an honest living. And Dirty White Boy's like, look, man, this guy, he's a national treasure. Just trying to make him some money. Get him out of that chair. That's fucking fantastic. And he's telling people to send him money. And fucking Bob Cottle's like, don't send this guy no money. Fucking great.
On this show, or on this podcast, no matter how much we like things, we always like to point out the botches too, because that's what we do. There is a point. This is a pretty basic match.
Yeah,
basic action here. But there is a point where Dirty White Boy throws a clothesline and falls on his ass. He does recover from it good, though, and talks some shit to the fans. Dixie Dynamite misses a drop kick. And then, in one of the greatest finishing maneuver names ever, Dirty White Boy hits the Buck Snort Blaster and pins Dixie Dynamite.
And see, Dixie Dynamite, I'm not a fan of Dixie. Okay, I don't want to say I'm a fan of Scott Armstrong, because there's no bad Armstrong. There's no bad Armstrong.
Right.
Every Armstrong is good at different things, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Like, Steve is criminally underrated. Steve Armstrong is criminally underrated. And, like, with him and the Young Pistols and all that shit, watch that shit. And then if you guys get into, like, Smoky Mountain and watch it later on, he's fucking fantastic. He was like a homesteader from everything I understood.
Mm-hmm.
And they all got different things from their dad.
Right.
That made them great. But to me, like, the Dixie Dynamite character was kind of cheap.
It seems like they threw them together just to have a jobber.
I understand why it worked in that territory. And later on, they take the mask off of him, and he's like Jim Cornette's like, we all know you're Scott Armstrong. He takes the mask off, and he sells it like, I just didn't want to be associated with my dad because I didn't want to think, I don't want you guys to think I was getting a push because of my dad and all that. But I just thought the Dixie Dynamite character, like, with his little firecrackers and all that shit.
Yeah.
But Scott's fundamentally sound, and is actually, if you watch him he's a fantastic referee.
Yeah.
But yeah, this match was a good basic
opener
and was basic Southern style wrestling, and it was entertaining.
Nothing great, nothing offensive.
Yeah.
Then we get two guys that I always like to see on a screen together: Dutch Mantel and Buddy Landell. Or as we have known him in the past on this show, Buddy Rondell.
Buddy Rondell.
But we get Dutch doing an interview with Buddy. Buddy's always a good promo. Buddy Landell's one of those guys that I think would have been a much bigger star nationally had he not had his own personal demons going on, to be perfectly honest.
That's a good assumption, but He was a great wrestler. I won't take anything away from him in the ring. I just think that himself saddling himself with the "I want to be Ric Flair" gimmick, it hurt him.
And I can see where you'd say that, because I don't think it hurt him necessarily. Here's my biggest thing with Landell. I love Buddy Landell in Smoky Mountain. I love Buddy Landell in other promotions. I never liked it when Buddy Landell was in the same promotion as Ric Flair.
Right.
Because in that respect, yes, to whatever audience is watching that, it just comes off as a guy that's pretending to be
right. He could be Gilbert for all anybody cares. They're not going to really look at his body of work and say he's great. You know,
I would put it like my first note was, it's the fake Nature Boy versus the fake Undertaker.
Good point.
But I want to say something real quick. This is why I laughed. I had posted that I wanted some people to post some of their own songs, and Brian Huff did 2 of them.
All right, Brian.
Okay, if I say what they are.
Oh, sure.
He said that Sable should have come out to Barbie Girl.
Okay.
I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world.
Okay.
And this one popped me. That's why I laughed. Sid Vicious, John Fogerty's Center Field.
Good job, Brian.
Brian Huff, that was funny.
Put me in, Coach.
I'm ready to play today.
Not in the ring, though. But put me in, Coach.
Yeah, that one cracked me up. Sorry.
Good job, Brian Huff. Thank you for listening and participating. Landell, as Aaron alluded to, Buddy Landell against Brian Lee is our next matchup, and I have my notes for this are, until I get to the action, Buddy Landell is great. Brian Lee, and I'm going to repeat this a couple of times through the show. Anybody else think Brian Lee is a guy that regressed through his career? Because in Smoky Mountain here, Brian Lee's pretty fucking good. Yeah. By the time he gets to be Chains in the WWE, he's just like slugging along. But I mean, for a young, Southern babyface here, I can see why Jim Cornette made him his first top face.
Well, I got some notes on that. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'll say mine after.
It's later on, and I wrote it down. It's just as I was watching it. I'm not saying Brian Lee was terrible or anything like that, but Brian Lee, in my opinion, and you guys could tell me if I'm off with what I'm saying, he was attempting to be Barry Windham.
Yes.
I can see what you're saying.
And you're not Barry. Sorry, Brian, you're not Barry Windham.
No, but Buddy Landell was attempting to be Ric Flair.
I know, but I'm just saying,
imitation flattery.
Like even in this match, this match did nothing for me.
I get what Aaron's saying. The outfit, the look, the hair.
I guess I'm the outlier on this because I really enjoy Brian Lee. Like watching Smoky Mountain.
I like Brian Lee.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know.
But I like Brian Lee better as a heel later on.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, see, what I was going to say was, after I watched this, it cued right to a Jim Cornette interview where someone asked him, why did you make Brian Lee your first world heavyweight champion? And Jim Cornette's exact words were, and he did not mean this in any disrespect to Brian Lee, that Brian Lee was like the 5th choice. Mm-hmm. Jim's first choice was Brad Armstrong.
Yeah, you couldn't get him because Brad was wrapped up in WCW
and with the power plant. Then he thought about bringing in Jerry Lawler. Lawler couldn't do it because he was with the WWF. He had other guys in it. And then when he finally came down to it, he's like, well, Brian Lee's a young kid. He's a Southern boy. Let's try it. Mm-hmm. Brian, did his best. I think he looked great in the tournament, unless he was getting his ass kicked by Paul Orndorff. You know what I mean? I like Brian Lee. To your point, as far as when he finally became Chains, I think Brian, after being the fake Undertaker and then being decimated at SummerSlam the way that he was, when the WWF finally told him, "Hey, we're going to make you chains, and you're going to be with Crush and 2 other guys, and you're going to be bikers," he was just like, "Okay,
Yeah, whatever. I'll get a check.
whatever you want me, right? I'll get a check."
Yeah.
And then he went to ECW and reinvented himself as Primetime Brian Lee with the Triple Thread. And even though it was the tail end of his career because he was, much older, he actually did a great job there as being the heavy for Shane Douglas.
Mm-hmm.
So Brian Lee had to reinvent himself constantly because no one was giving him a shot as himself, in my opinion.
He gets a small package for the win in this match.
It was an awkward looking small package.
It was. It kind of, yeah. It was an awkward spot.
Like Landell, this was like you were talking with Jim Cornette saying like, "Oh, I wanted Brad Armstrong or this, that, and the other thing." And this is Smoky Mountain starting. It's like Jim Cornette says, there's the tale of 2 buddies. There's the buddy he had first, and then the buddy that came back. And watching this match, and I'm not a worker or anything like that, Buddy Landell did Brian Lee no favors in this fucking match.
Oh, no.
He made him look like shit, in my opinion. And that's why I thought it was a dud. Like, I wasn't knocking Brian Lee. I was more unimpressed with how Buddy put him over than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was just Buddy did nothing in this match.
My next note says Tim Horner promo. What a fucking goofus.
Mine is Tim Horner promo. That guy sucks on the microphone.
My note was
not even filleting it, like he just sucks on it.
My note was, "Oh my God, is that Bobby Fulton?" And then they went Tim Horner, and I went, "Oh, it's Tim Horner."
And he sounds goofy, and he looks goofy, and just everything about Tim Horner is goofy.
What it made me question? Remember when he showed back up in WCW in like '98 on Nitro? I was like, what made them rehire him? You know what I mean? It was like, why did they think Tim Horner was going to get over in '98?
He looks like the idiot that would come in to buy a fishing license, and then when I go, "Hey, I need your driver's license," be like, "What?
What?
Right. You mean I got to walk back out to my truck?" Be like, "Yeah, man."
Walk out there like White Lightning, brother, and get your driver's license.
Fucking idiot.
The next match is Goofus Tim Horner against Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
Can I ask a question?
Okay.
Can I ask a question real quick? It seems like every show we always review older shows, Paul Orndorff is on them. Did he jump around?
He's one of the great, because he's one of the greatest. He's one of the greatest heels of all time. You know what doesn't get enough? You know what doesn't get enough discussion about Paul Orndorff?
What?
We on this, and we're guilty of it on this show sometimes too. Hogan Savage, Hogan Warrior, Hogan Flair, Hogan, and then obviously Hogan Andre. You know, nobody ever drew more money with Hulk Hogan than Paul Orndorff.
Really?
Their feud in 1986. Obviously, Andre and Hogan at WrestleMania 3 in and of itself is the biggest event of all time in the history of pro wrestling. But Hulk Hogan
is a big event.
Hulk Hogan and Paul Orndorff was the most financially successful main event program WWF ever had.
Was not aware of that.
Until probably Rock and Austin. Okay, I'm talking 80s. I'm sorry, I should have clarified.
No,
but that era, Paul Orndorff and Hulk Hogan drew a fuck ton of money. Paul Orndorff does not get enough credit for the money drawing heel that he was.
But it's just weird to me that UWF, Smoky Mountain, AWF, it's like every show we've ever
it's for a couple of reasons. He was a great talent.
And bounce.
Well, he was a great talent. Yeah. He was a great talent, but he was also a talent that would tell the promoter to go fuck themselves.
Right.
Yeah, I'm Paul Orndorff. I got fuck you money.
But every promoter liked him so much, and he was so good that they'd forgive him and bring him back. And
right.
I remember the last time he told me to go fuck yourself, fuck myself. Come on back, Paul.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, I just wanted to. I know I went on a tangent, but
you're good.
The Hogan Orndorff program does not get enough credit for how successful it was in its time. It was really, really big for the WWF. But he is here, and he is saddled with this goofus Tim Horner here.
He went hard.
Hey, I want to say something, though. Saddled isn't – I don't like Tim Horner is a goofus, but don't say Sal because Tim Horner, for an idiot, is a pretty good wrestler.
I don't like him as a wrestler either.
Okay, well, he's a good wrestler. But what even proves he's a bigger idiot than just a stupid promo is the fact that his entrance theme is about spousal abuse. The Thunder Rolls is about spousal abuse.
It is.
And plus, your name is Lightning, and you're coming out to Thunder Rolls. That's Thunder, not Lightning.
Right.
He's a stupid idiot.
To me, it seems like Paul Orndorff went off on him in this match. Like he really
went
as hard as possible.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it was just Orndorff working stiff, or if Horner wasn't giving him enough, and Orndorff had to get stiff. But I think Tim Horner took an ass whooping this night.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't think Tim Horner can't cut a promo. Tim Horner comes off to me like being kind of a little bit of a simpleton,
right?
But he's not a terrible wrestler.
No.
He is if he wants, but he's not. How I would describe Tim Horner to somebody that is a wrestling fan that might not know who Tim Horner is, I would say take Terry Taylor, okay, and remove any of Terry Taylor's charisma. And that's Tim Horner.
Okay.
Capable in the ring. He's going to have a good match. But then when he talks, you don't give a fuck.
You're going to cringe.
Yeah. And you guys are talking about Paul Orndorff and drawing all that money with Hogan and doing this, that, and the other thing. The other reason you want Paul Orndorff around is he's a name who doesn't give a fuck about making somebody else look good.
No, you're right about that. He does know how to put somebody over.
Like
as long as Paul Orndorff's booked properly and paid properly, he'll do whatever you ask him to do.
Yeah, right. I wrote it down. He to me he comes off like how people talk about Terry Funk.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll sit in the locker room. Oh, I can help you make that guy.
Right.
I can help you make that guy. Oh, I can do something. Well, you're gonna lose at the end of it. Well, I don't give a shit.
I don't give a shit. Pay me. Am I in the main event?
I'm fucking Paul Orndorff. You know, my name's already made. If I get pinned by this guy, what the fuck does it matter? I'm Paul fucking Orndorff.
Right.
I main evented fucking WrestleMania. I'll put Tim Horner over if I need to. I mean, he doesn't, but you know what I mean.
I had a couple of problems with this match. Firstly, I thought that there's a point in the match where Paul Orndorff has Tim Horner outside the ring, and he's choking him with the cables on the outside of the ring. And the commentators say, we don't know what's going on over there because we don't have monitors, but it looks like Orndorff's got Tim Horner down over there and he's beating him up. And I didn't like that because I thought it made them sound cheap.
Right. Why would you admit that?
It's a small criticism. It is what it is. I'm just,
No,
and
there's
then
ways around that, though.
The finish, Tim Horner's legs were so blatantly in the ropes,
right,
that it made Brian Hildebrand look bad as a referee. It was so blatant. Like
Nate,
it wasn't even like Orndorff tried to hide it.
Okay, but the 1, 2, 3. Okay, you didn't see it. You get up and then blatantly turn around and let Orndorff unhook the leg from the rope, so that you could not see it. It's like, dude, really?
Yeah, I had some major problems with this deal, and this was probably my least favorite match on the show.
But still, Orndorff did what he was supposed to.
Yeah,
he got over, and
I mean, nothing on this show is horrible. I was just saying this was probably my least favorite deal on the show. Up next, Jimmy Golden and Robert Gibson. Jimmy Golden, for those of you that don't know a lot about
Jack Swagger's dad.
Yeah, not only Jack Swagger's dad, but also Bunkhouse Buck in WCW. Jimmy Golden, a member of one of the great early families of professional wrestling, the Fuller Welch family.
I love me some Studs Table, brother.
Yeah. And he is going up against one of my faves, of course, from the Rock and Roll Express, Robert Gibson. This match is good. I don't have a lot of written down on it. I just put really good match. Gibson sells the knee. Great psychology. This was a good match. Jimmy Golden and Robert Gibson.
My only critique against it would have been how quick the ending happened. Like, not that the match itself happened that quickly, but like I was watching it and then I looked away for a split second and went back and I'm like, wait, how did Robert Gibson win? You know what I mean? Like it happened in a flash. So, you know, but Robert Gibson was a great talent. Obviously a tag team specialist, but on those off chances him or Ricky had to wrestle as singles, they did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I enjoyed Robert in this match.
I did too, and I'm a Jimmy Golden fan. I'm a fan of anytime you put Robert Fuller and Jimmy Golden together, I want to watch it, whether they're Robert Fuller and Jimmy Golden or whether they're Bunkhouse Buck and Colonel Parker. Fucking great. And I think Robert, and I know everybody talks about Rock and Roll Express. I'm looking at their autograph up here. I watch their matches all the time. Robert, somewhat underrated, I think, just because he's overshadowed by
yeah, I mean Richie Morton. Ricky Morton is bombastic. You know what I mean? Like Ricky Morton is just he's this. I hate to compare the two teams because even though there are similarities, they are different. It is like Sean and Marty, not in the respect like Robert's not. Marty Jannetty's career could have been so much better if it weren't for Marty Jannetty getting in his own way.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, in that group, in that twosome, Shawn Michaels is like charisma personified, and Marty is a really good fucking talent.
Right.
And that's where Ricky and Robert are. Like Ricky is that charisma, and Robert is that just.
Right. Ricky would cut the entire promo until the ending when Robert would say his ending line.
Or even in the match.
Right. Ricky would get the pin.
Ricky would sell.
Right.
Yeah. And then Robert would get in there and fucking work.
Right.
Mm-hmm. They are okay. My favorite tag, it's what we do here, right?
It's what we do.
My favorite tag team of all time, I've said it a million times on the show, is the Hart Foundation. I love Demolition. They're 1A, but the Hart Foundation is my favorite tag team. But the Rock and Roll Express is in my top 5. The Hart Foundation is my favorite tag team. But let's be honest, the Rock and Roll Express might be the greatest tag team of all time.
Considering they're still doing it today, yeah.
God damn it, the Midnights are up there too, though. But man, the Rock and Roll Express. Okay, Rock and Roll Express are the greatest babyface tag team of all time.
The Rock and Roll Express is the greatest tag team of all time because they never. I shouldn't say they never broke up. They had that shitty, stupid feud or whatever in WCW, but they were just consistently always together.
And always good. And always good.
And I'll say it again.
But LOD wasn't always good.
Nope.
There were a bunch of bad old LOD matches.
LOD Legion of Doom is the Andre the Giant of tag teams. They're the greatest tag team attraction of all time, but they're by no means the greatest tag team of all time.
But when you hear Jim Cornette or any promoter talk about we had to fill the arena and sell out quick, they talk about the Rock and Roll Express.
Yes, because the Express were. Here's why they're the greatest babyface tag team of all time. I take any heel tag team. Okay.
Yep.
Hear me out. I take any heel tag team, and on a random Saturday night Superstars, Clash of the Champions, fucking whatever it is, I have them beat Ricky Morton up, and he can't wrestle, and he's out for 6 weeks. Because this tag team, whether it be the Andersons or Demo, I'm just pulling names out of my hat. The Bolsheviks, whoever. They beat him down. They put Ricky out. Robert's talking about Ricky on TV every week. Ricky's coming back because Ricky's the next to Shawn Michaels. Nobody sells like Ricky Morton. and then they come back, and then they have the match, and they work the program, and it's the best shit you've ever seen in your life.
Right.
I'm just saying, like they're
it's a 45-minute mat classic between two great tag teams.
Good, and it doesn't matter who they're in the ring with.
Nope.
Aaron and I watched them live wrestle two shitty fucking indie wrestlers, and it was the best match on the card.
Did you watch them on the NWA recently last year?
Yes,
they took on those guys were the bouncers, those 200-300 pounders. They made them look like they were fighting the Midnight Express.
Yep.
You know,
Ricky Morton's like 70 years old. He's doing Canadian destroyers and shit. Fucking fantastic.
You know,
and they still got the music, baby.
Right.
Ooh, boogie woogie.
God, I love them. Fuck, I love them. And you know what else? Is it or is it not, Aaron? Cool as shit that you got a picture with them, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it cool that we got to wear their Hall of Fame rings when we took the Archie? They let us wear their Hall of Fame rings.
Like, there were other people charging extra if you wanted to wear the ring and shit. Them motherfuckers just like,
yeah, hey, they were like,
I'm over here put the ring. Like, I have never met.
I got lucky because I got to actually get my picture taken before Aaron. But Ricky was like, he looked at Robert Gibson. He was like, well, of course they asked my name and blah, blah, blah. And then Ricky goes, hey, Hoot, let's let him wear the ring. And I was like, oh, motherfucker, you motherfuckers.
But yeah, them guys, man, they were personable. They were entertaining. And when they had their match, they came out and they had their match. And, like, people popped when they came out because they came out to Rock and Roll is King, which is their coolest theme and all this shit, you know? And the match was going on, and, like, nobody was really reacting except maybe the first two rows. And, like, they were in the middle of the card, and fucking Ricky Morton looked out at the crowd. He's like, God damn, them first matches must have sucked. You people aren't into this shit at all.
He was like, come on!
Come on, God damn it. That was fucking great.
All right, now that we went off on a tirade, the next match in the show.
Oh, let's not forget Robert Gibson won that match.
Yes, he did. And now we got the Dirty White Boy and Brian Lee in the second round. I think that Brian Lee had a good flurry to start the match.
He attacked immediately as the bell sounded. He did
a really good
Anthony a minute.
Yeah, and he did the blade job. He sold real. I was really like, and I'm watching Smoky Mountain right now. Like this show I probably watched. I actually watched this a second time because I think I watched it like a month or so ago. But anyway, the dude is. I know you guys were kind of, I think, a little bit disagreeing with me. I really like Brian Lee in this role.
No, I don't mind him in this role, but I didn't know it was him at first. When I found out it was him, I kind of got taken aback because, and I'm going to sound stupid, because I've never really heard him talk that much in ECW or when he was changed in WWF. I was like, I didn't know Brian Lee was Southern. You know what I mean? Because I never heard him have that pronounced accent. And then, like to what Aaron said, he did have that Barry Windham young, up-and-comer-esque, look to him.
Right.
And it just seemed like that was what he was trying to pull off here. But that could have been something Cornette told him to do too. You know, like you have to be wholesome. You have to be, be for the people. And he did his best. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Aaron, what did you think of this match?
Oh, it was an okay match. And I kind of went over, like, when I said, I was going to bring up the Barry Windham thing and all that. As I was watching the show, you guys just kind of sparked my memory on what I was going to talk about in this match. Like, we already talked about, like you guys brought up the TL Hopper thing and all those were just in my notes. But like I said, I don't dislike Brian Lee, but the notes are at the end of mine. Like, I put who I would have had win this tournament, but I don't know. Brian Lee is a babyface. Just really kind of doesn't do it for me.
See, I'm the opposite.
These guys kind of ruled the roost for a little bit after this. Like, it was like Brian Lee and Dirty White Boy.
There's a really cool thing they do at one point where Dutch Mantel is going to go interview Brian Lee at his house, but his house, he's like living in a van in a junkyard and shit. And it's really cool stuff. Like, it's really
he's not
neat.
interviewing Brian Lee's interviewing Dirty White.
I'm sorry, I meant Dirty White Boy. But
he's like, who's that dog? I don't want nothing to do with that dog.
yeah,
You're
Dutch
fucked
Mantel
up or whatever.
the dog. But I don't know. I guess I'm the opposite here. Like, this is probably my favorite Brian Lee. Is this early Brian Lee babyface? I really enjoy it.
I love Brian Lee when he's poking Tammy. That's my favorite Brian Lee.
But for me, though, these two put on the best match because size-wise, you got obviously Dirty White Boy, who's a big lumbering guy, and then Brian Lee, who's this almost 7-footer, and they actually put on a pretty energetic, fast-paced match. And Dirty White Boy beat the hell out of Brian Lee at the ending of it. Leaving him bloody.
Yeah,
that's what you want to see in a match like this. You don't want to see a roll up or a small package or anything like that. You want to see it come down to, blood, sweat, and tears.
Exactly. Yeah. And it gives you the way that Brian Lee left this match, having been bloodied, having been attacked by a chair. It is babyface wrestling booking 101. There's no way this guy's going to win the tournament. There's no way he's going to win the title. Yes, absolutely. Then we get a Dirty White Boy promo, which is good, as always.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah,
sure.
And I put this down, and I was kind of watching. I was studying Dutch Mantel. I love. Okay, not as I don't want to marry him or anything, but I love it. Do you think that Dutch Mantel was a bad dresser because it was funny, or because it was on just because he was a bad dresser?
Well,
because like Bret Hart is a bad dresser. Like he's terrible. I mean, he's terrible at wearing clothes. Like he wears shitty outfits.
What was Dutch Mantel's character when he was with Jack Swagger recently in the WWF? What was his name?
Zeb Coulter.
Zeb Coulter, okay. Yes. Zeb Coulter. Even then, he was dressing bad. He had on, like that khaki vest and a red tie, and so I think it comes down to the way he dresses.
Like, was he dressing bad to be obnoxious, or was he just not good at dressing?
No, I think it was going to be dressing bad.
I think it's because he was an old school wrestling heel, and he knew that if he dressed like that, he was going to stand out.
Right, but
whether good or bad, he was. Because I mean, let's be honest, or I'll be honest. The only time, and Aaron knows this, the only time in his career I do not like Dutch Mantel is when he's wearing Bobby Jaggers as a backpack, because I hate Bobby Jaggers. But other than that, Dutch Mantel is one of the greats, man. One of the great heels, one of the great talkers.
See, what I'm thinking is, Nate, he walked into like an arena one night dressed like that, and the promoter went, "Hey, Dutch, don't change a fucking thing."
Yeah,
you look
horrible, and it's great.
You need to stay dressed like that.
Well, I'm just saying, he never he probably never wore this ensemble, but he'd have on like a checkered shirt,
right,
a straight tie,
a vest.
Always
wore a vest.
Jeans tucked into his boots.
Some cargo pants and some like tuxedo shoes and shit. He'd be like, "I'm Dutch Mantel. How you doing? Right. I'm classy as shit." And it was okay. That might be weird that I asked that question.
No, I liked them.
Up next, the next match I don't have a lot of notes on, but the simple notes I have. It's Paul Orndorff and Robert Gibson. All right. Now Robert Gibson is still obviously selling the knee from the last match.
That was in my notes. You don't fucking get that anymore. You'd have a tournament now, and that fucking dude, like whoever was in the match now, would just fucking completely forget. I'm selling my knee. Ooh.
And there's the key, because here's my notes. Orndorff and Gibson, good. Gibson still sells the knee. Orndorff wins, and Gibson has an excuse for losing.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
These
here's the
guys,
realism.
These guys looked at themselves and said, hey, we're not supposed to have a great match because you're fucking hurt.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, it's not our job to fucking steal the show right now.
Right.
It's our job to
Exactly.
stay in our fucking lane and do our fucking job.
But the realism of it is it's Paul Orndorff and Robert going to each other and going, hey, it's only been 20 minutes since you got your knee jacked up.
Stay in
You
your
need to
lane.
walk.
Let's do our job.
Yeah, you walk out there hobbling, and I'll work on your knee some more. You know?
Exactly.
As opposed to, oh, I got blinded 3 weeks ago. Oh, no, wait, let's use Randy Orton here. I got a fireball through at my face 2 weeks ago, but I show up to the pay-per-view with no mark on my face.
Yeah, total.
Yeah, so.
Can we take a smoke break?
Sure.
Okay. Let me write the time down.
You're the one fucking the dog. I'm just holding the head, man.
Jesus Christ.
That's horrible. I'm not watching that.
I'll be back, maybe.
As a customer,
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Man, everybody's showing off these new Zelina Vega elites, and they're not in the United States, though.
What?
Zelina Vega, her new elite came out, even though she got released. They gave out her new elite, and it's only in the UK, which sucks because I want one, but I ain't paying UK prices.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, before we start up again, you know what my favorite reaction to the TikTok all about time video was?
What?
Because I've showed that to a lot of people.
Okay.
It was your reaction, Archie. As you're watching it, you said, "Oh, so the clown is the clock." I don't know why that caught me, but you're like, "Oh, so the clown is the clock."
The clown played no other role but the clock in the video.
Okay. Write this down here. 52. So up next on this show, we get, I mean, can you argue with a Jim Cornette and Heavenly Bodies promo?
No.
Those of you that only have seen the Heavenly Bodies in the WWF, Pritchard and Del Rey, who were fantastic, were not the original Heavenly Bodies. The original Heavenly Bodies were Tom Pritchard and Stan Lane with a bouffant.
Sweet Stan.
It's a wig.
It's a bouffant anyway. But they were a great tag team together. And one of the first things I wrote down here, guys, Tom Pritchard is an underrated promo.
I agree. Unless his name is Zip, but that's another story.
I mean, he's doing Roddy Piper, but it's still fantastic.
Yeah, I thought he was too. It came off very Piper-esque. I will say this, though. It is a tribute and a wonderful thing to see how great of a manager and booker Jim Cornette is. Because this guy made 4 successful tag teams out of 6 people and never had to add the word new or new and improved to the name. Like the Midnight started off with Dennis and Bobby, and then he added Stan Lane. The Midnight Express, the Heavenly Bodies started off with Stan Lane and Bruce Pritchard, and then he added Gigolo Jimmy Del Rey. And all 4 of those teams were successful and unbelievable to watch.
Yeah.
You know?
I did write down a question that I was going to ask.
Okay.
And you guys can both answer it. Neither one of you answer whatever. Who you got to pick them? Okay. Who's the better bodies? Is it Stan and Tom, or Tom and Jimmy?
I say Tom and Jimmy.
I do too.
I have to kind of agree. Stan Lane, in my opinion, was a placeholder here for Jimmy because this was just after Jim Cornette and Stan Lane walked out of WCW. So Stan Lane kind of had nothing else to do. So Jim Cornette was like, "Go ahead, Stan."
And do you know why? Do you know why I feel that that's the reason? And it's not that Stan isn't great, because Stan Lane is fucking fantastic.
Oh, amazing!
And he's a guy that's on my list of why didn't this guy ever wrestle for Vince?
Right.
Understand that. But I mean, he worked for Vince, but he never wrestled for him. But I liked Tom and Jimmy Del Rey because they weren't Heavenly Bodies.
Right.
You know?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
We're the Heavenly Bodies, but we're scuzzy looking. You know what I mean? Jimmy Del Rey is sleazy looking.
We're both a little pudgy. One of us is furry. Yeah.
Right.
But we're the sexiest thing on the planet.
And I hate to keep using the word here, but it's true. And I know we're getting off of this show. Jimmy Del Rey is underrated. He was a great hand. And him and Tom were a great team. I think they should have got a run with the WWF tag titles.
I agree.
But they do a promo here, and like I said, Tom Pritchard is an underrated promo and an underrated wrestler. I can see why WWF trusted him to train their talent. During this match, they face Party Patrol, which are the rich yeah, they suck. But during the match, one of my notes is Tom Pritchard. I think it's Johnny Rich. I don't know who it is. But Tom Pritchard gives one of the Rich brothers a perfect suplex. A perfect suplex. Like, it's one of the greatest suplexes I've ever seen in a match ever. And he's just, God, he's so good.
It's
So
smooth. His transition was smooth. You know,
This is one of my notes about the Potty Patrol. Okay. You remember that movie that Michael Keaton made where they cloned him or whatever, like multiplicity.
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah. Party Patrol is like Jim Brunzell was in that movie, and he cloned himself a couple times. And these are the fucking idiot clones.
By the way,
after like the 8th or 9th time.
By the way, and you brought it up, but I have said this to probably at least 10 people in my life that I thought were smart enough to understand cinema and comedy. One of the greatest shticks. It may not even be one of the funniest movies ever made, but one of the greatest comedy shticks ever done was that movie. That every time you clone the person, he gets dumber. It's fantastic. It's fantastic.
This is
God bless Michael Keaton.
This is the 8th and 9th clone of Jim Brunzell. Like, one's like furry and clumsy. Yeah, this fucking guy sucked.
And the other one has like a big forehead, and he's kind of like his eyes are too close together.
He just keeps eating crayons. Like, why are you eating crayons?
I like the fuchsia. It tastes good.
Red tastes like cherry. But no, my favorite line by the commentary team during this match was, Johnny is the more experienced of the two. Meanwhile, Johnny's outside looking directly in the ring as they're pinning his brother. And he's not jumping in to break up the It's like, so what's his experience? 2 weeks? You know?
Well, Jim Brunzell and Jim Dumzel lose this match against the Heavenly Bodies.
I love the way that Tom Pritchard put the, I guess, foreign object on his boot and then delivered an enziguri. Like where he put it on the toe, he actually connected with his shin and didn't hit him with the foreign object. But it made sense. You know,
that's it was more because his idiot opponent was out of place.
Right.
He wasn't in his position.
It was still a great heel tactic while Cornette had the other guy busy beating him up. You know what I mean?
And Dr. Tom, I wrote this down because I love watching Jim Cornette on shoot interviews and listening to him talk and everything like that. Somebody asked him how Tom Pritchard became known as the Doctor, and he was like, "Well, Tom always had the fools."
Yeah, that's a good enough reason.
So they'd walk in the locker room and be like, "What's up, Doctor?" Be like, "Oh, I got this for you, buddy." "Oh, here you go. Did you like my Tom Pritchard there? Here you go, buddy. Here you go.
There you go. Yeah.
You can do voices. I can do voices too.
So up next is our main event.
Like a Jim Ross podcast. Shitty fucking voices.
Oh, here's Terry Funk.
Oh.
All
right.
The main event of the show is Brian Lee and Paul Orndorff for the Smoky Mountain Championship. Bob Armstrong, the commissioner, comes out and awards Paul Orndorff the title, but in good old-fashioned Southern babyface fashion, out comes Brian Lee with the silly bandage on his head.
Yeah.
And but this is what it's all about.
My mom, Sarah, told me to never give up. I need to do this.
Bob Armstrong in this role I happened when Bob grabs the belt back from Orndorff comically, the way he jumps over his shoulder and pulls the belt, and Orndorff's like, "What are you doing?" And Bob Armstrong was meant to be the commissioner in a wrestling company.
Yes.
And that's in my notes, is that out of every company that ever had a commissioner or anything like that, I don't know if there's a better person that was ever like in the commissioner role.
Right.
No, there never was.
Than Bob Armstrong.
And just a comedic take on his role as commissioner.
Right.
Bob Armstrong is the commissioner of Smoky Mountain Wrestling, dressed like a high school counselor.
Right. It was a short sleeve shirt with a tie.
Yeah, and
way too tucked into his pants.
Right.
Like one of the coolest things is like when he's getting into it with Jim, and Jim's like, "You're the commissioner, and you're wearing the tie." And he's like, "This tie's a clip-on, boy," and like basically like rips it off. Like, yeah, I don't need that. Boom, here you go. Yeah, I mean, Foley was a great commissioner. Don't get me wrong, but that was like super comedic and just you know, oh, I'm the commissioner. I'm gonna do this. Like Bob could be funny, but he could also be serious.
Right.
And you bought the guy as a guy that could also fucking defend himself. And yeah, he wore the short sleeve shirt and the tie and everything like that, but he did it on purpose because it still made him look like a fucking man. Right. Like he wore a shirt that was a couple sizes too small because it fucking accentuated the fact that, yeah, I'm the commissioner.
He was still ripped.
But you ain't gonna fucking bully me around because I'm a badass, you know?
This was a great battle from underneath match for Brian Lee. I keep putting him over because I really, as I'm watching this pay-per-view, I was putting him over. I think he did a great job on this night.
He did.
And Orndorff was the right guy to end it with because he was the biggest name on the show, if that makes sense.
Right.
And the only problem I have is I wrote down DQ finish. No.
Right. You can't give a title on a DQ.
I don't like that he won the title on a DQ.
Right. Right. It's bad. It could have, I mean, here is where he could have gotten a roll up on Orndorff, or Armstrong could have maybe distracted Orndorff because there was so much going on the outside with Tony Anthony and Armstrong, and there was like 40 people outside. So they could have done something to let Brian Lee pin Paul Orndorff. But I guess they figured if we have to go back to a rematch, at least that'll give Paul something to say. Well, you never actually pinned me.
And you almost said Porndorf there.
I did.
That's the name of the show for this week. Porndorf.
I will.
Porndorf plays golf.
That is a new silly gimmick. Porndorf.
When Val Venus needed a partner, he called in Porndorf. Now I will
Mr. Bounderful. Porndorf.
I will, on a serious note, something I found troubling in all of Orndorff matches in this night. He didn't break when the referee was counting when they were in the ropes, and that referee counted to 5 like 8 times. You know what I mean? It was like 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on, Paul, you got to break out. And Paul's still beating up the guy in the corner. He's beating on Robert's knee in the corner. And then 1, 2. And I'm like, you didn't break them up. You didn't stop anything.
Now, in the referee's defense, he refereed every goddamn match on this show.
Did.
So God bless
Brian
Hildebrand. God bless Brian Hildebrand, and God rest his soul. But yeah, the Dirty White Boy comes out and attacks afterwards. And then we get some Paul Porndorf and Brian Lee promos here. One of the things that I wrote about the Brian Lee promo was
I liked it.
I did too, but he had one of those slip ups, I guess, that you would say when somebody's doing a promo. It's not a criticism; it's just funny. I'm not shitting on him, but instead of saying "pay the piper," He said you're going to have to pay the fiddler.
Fiddler, and I my eyebrow went up. Like I've
Yeah, I
never
was
heard
like,
that
pay
expression.
the
That a
fiddler?
southern? I was like, is that a southern expression? And I'm not aware of it.
I think he just fucked up.
Yeah, I
frankly.
do too. But he showed so much fire, and when he said things, what at the ending of it was like, and when I'm done with you, Tony Anthony, your whole body's going to look like my forehead. I was like, okay, I can believe this. You know.
So overall, what did we think of the show, guys?
I would give it a solid 4 out of 5. I liked it.
I didn't really give it a rating. I thought it was good, fun Southern wrestling.
Yeah.
And
a good start to Smoky Mountain.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I really hope that since Peacock murdered the network, that we're gonna have to, I shouldn't say force ourselves, we're gonna have to, branch out and get onto more things. And I think that a Smoky Mountain type show would be fun
for WrestleNet Radio.
Yeah.
Nice cheap pop, Nate.
Archie, wink, wink. Maybe that
I have no problem. I have
nudge,
no
nudge,
problem
wink,
with
wink,
that
say no more, say no more.
I have no problem with that. Like I told you guys, I love Tony Anthony, and I like everything about Jim Cornette. After I got done watching Smoky Mountain last night, I watched like 40 Jim Cornette shoot interviews till 4 in the morning. And he tells it. When I say this, I don't mean it as a dig. I know they're not stories as in he's making them up. But when you hear Jim Cornette speak and tell a story about the old days and how money was made and how things was done, you can't help but go, well, then why did he stay there? You know what I mean? Like you hear him say how much he hated Vince McMahon, and Vince McMahon didn't listen to his ideas, but then when he would butcher them. Or when they remade the Midnight Express with Bob Holly and Bart Gunn, and how upset he was about it, but he did it just because it was trying to help out Bart Gunn and Bob Holly. So I love everything about Jim Cornette. So I'll gladly do it, Smoky Mountain.
Me too. And you know what? I love Jim Cornette, and Jim Cornette and I have a very, very common trait. We both hate that good, lousy Kenny Omega. But anyway.
I thought you were going to say Vince Russo.
No, Kenny Omega. I remember back when I first started seeing Omega and some of his bullshit, and I was like, God, this guy's fucking awful. And that was before I even discovered the Jim Cornette experience.
Right.
I was like, God, this guy's he's so bad. I don't know why people like him so much. He's garbage, and then I listened to Cornette emaciate him
right.
on his show, and I was like, oh.
What does he call him? Twinkles McFingerbang or something?
He calls him Twinkle Toes McFingerbang. Yes.
Nate, I have to tell you something. I'm still a Kenny Omega fan, but I'm not as big as I used to be. Like you and I have had debates about this.
Mm-hmm.
When I used to watch Kenny in New Japan, or if he made the Ring of Honor, a couple of Ring of Honor tapings,
right?
Because it was in small doses. I really enjoyed Kenny's work.
Well, that and I'm not trying to cut you off.
No.
But in Japan, I mean, let's be honest, Okada carried him.
No, you're right. Okada was a workhorse for him in those matches. But watching him weekly, and I hate Don Callis. He gets me very angry when I hear him speak. But watching Kenny weekly,
and he's apparently a sexually harassing prick. But anyway,
right. That's why I hated hearing him speak. But see, Kenny cannot cut a promo over the last couple of months. I don't know if he ever could, but over the last couple of months. And his just whole body of work seems like he's phoning it in now. But maybe that's because he doesn't have somebody to carry him to a good match.
That's it. I mean,
so,
and I'm not trying to diminish what you're saying, but I think that as they use him as the top guy,
right,
there are going to be more and more people.
Like, I'd rather Cody be in the top spot over Omega right now. And I'm not saying anything bad about Cody, but at least you could understand it being Cody.
Well, and Cody's a good worker and he's a good wrestler. Right. Yeah, Cody and Brandy are totally full of themselves.
Right.
Absolutely. Here's our reality show.
Right.
Here's our this. Here's our that. They're obnoxiously full of themselves.
But
But Cody is at least a really, really good professional wrestler.
right, and he got a promo,
Yes.
and he's Dusty's son. So if he won the company world title, so did Dusty when he was booking the NWA.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Runs
it's
in the family.
understandable. But it's just like I think they gave Kenny way too much and not enough around him to keep people from looking directly at him.
The best thing to give him is a pink slip.
Well, I'm not saying that, but
I am.
I know you are.
All right, guys. Any parting words for our listeners as we sign off this week on the Smoky Mountain edition of the We Can't Wrestle podcast?
If you don't get Peacock free with your cable, like I do, don't subscribe to it just yet till they work out all the kinks and we find out how much they're actually taking down. Because you might not get what you think you're paying for.
Yeah, and I would agree with that with the WWE process of it, but Peacock is itself. There's a lot of shit on there that I enjoy. Like I had Peacock before the WWE thing.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, me too.
I like Peacock as a service. Yeah,
right.
I mean, it's fine.
Right.
I don't want to knock it as a service.
No, but if you're only getting it for the WWE network, then wait and see if they're gonna, because let's face it, if they take down the whole Attitude Era, then what do you that's what people had the WWE network for.
Unless you're a modern fan. I mean, a modern fan probably it would be worth it for them to get the pay-per-views.
Ratings would suggest otherwise, Nate. There aren't many modern fans left.
Yeah.
Because goddamn, I could get on Peacock and watch me some Modern Family, and that fucking shit's fantastic.
Right. My
Great
wife has been watching the new Punky Brewster and going back and watching the old one. And the old one makes me feel old, but then the new one makes me feel even older. It's like, damn, she's still around.
All right, everyone. I want to thank you for joining us this week on another edition of the We Can't Wrestle podcast. And again, like I said, stay tuned. WrestleMania weekend. We will be launching WrestleNet Radio. We are trying to change the game here with the We Can't Wrestle podcast, and we're going to. And I'm very excited. And you're going to hear me pummel it into your heads until we get there because it is a big deal, and I think it's going to be a great thing. But thank you for joining us on this edition of the We Can't Wrestle podcast, and we will see you next time around, everybody. Have a great week.